Hello.
Well, good morning, finally.
Yeah, good morning.
How are you today?
I'm doing fine.
I'm so glad to hear it.
There's a way you can just record the audio. I'm not sure how. I mean, I do know how.
No,
but
there's a button, and then when I get the recording, then I can strip the audio from the video. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's
I've done it
fine.
before.
All right.
As long as that's acceptable to you, that's good. And again, I'm grateful because I know you've been busy.
Yeah, and I have to leave it in a little bit
No
because I
worries.
had only booked, about 30 minutes. I have an appointment at 10 I have to drive to.
No problem.
I mean, I have an appointment that I need to get to by 10.
No problem. Not a problem at all.
All right.
We know that you have, because I've already done the intro that I'm going to put on this. We know that you have a new book out, and this book deals a lot or primarily with critical race theory. What is there's a lot of talk about where this came from. Where did this critical race theory thing come from? It seems to be new on the horizon.
Well, it's been around for a long time. It emerged in law schools in the 1970s. And then over the years, it sort of integrated itself into every department in the various universities and colleges. And so it became a part of teacher education, but it started at the universities, but it has roots in Marxism as well as postmodernism. And the postmodernists argue that there's no objective reality and everything is relative. That's a part of what they argue. With the critical race theorists and the Marxist roots, it's all about conflict theory, dividing people. And critical race theory itself divides Americans between whites and blacks. Whites are the oppressors. Blacks and other minorities are victims. And so it's not an ideology that could ever bring about racial reconciliation.
It's designed for division, and those people who create the division will be able to benefit from the chaos. Is that true?
Yes. And the book that I published about a week or so ago, the title of it is Black Eye for America, How Critical Race Theory is Burning Down the House. And I wrote that book because there were so many parents, teachers, policymakers, administrators that were being confronted with this, especially in the K-12 educational realm for the first time. And they were grappling with how can I understand this concept, because it's philosophy, it's a theory, it's unproven, but it had morphed into the educational realm. Sometimes, it calls itself critical race theory. Sometimes it calls itself cultural sensitivity, educational equity. Sometimes it's DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. But when the critical race theorists get a hold of concepts, they don't mean the same things that they once meant. And so there are many people that believe that when you say equity, they're thinking equal opportunity. Yes, I'm in favor of equal opportunity, where equity is about equal outcomes.
Yes. And that's a really big, I think that's a really big thing that we have to make sure that people understand, that these words don't mean the same, and they don't mean what they think they mean. Where do you think the biggest harm comes from the implementation of critical race theory, especially in and through the K-12 system? Because you're right, a lot of districts are grappling with this concept, this problem. Because on the exterior, it seems like, well, that seemed like a nice thing. Teachers are saying, like the head of ATFs are saying, we're just trying to teach a more truthful, honest history, when it's not that at all. So what's the biggest harm?
Well, it's to our children, and it doesn't matter whether they are Black or white, they're being harmed in different ways. For Black children, they're being taught that they are victims. And critical race theory argues that racism is permanent. And if it's permanent, there's nothing you can do about it. You might as well pack up your bags and go home. It's always going to be there. And they're also being confronted with the belief that the only way you get equity is by lowering the standards because Black people can't compete. And so all the accomplishments, of generations of Blacks, who fought for equal opportunity, they wanted to just get into the system to prove what they could do. All of a sudden, they're telling our children, and many of our children were raised in affluence compared to what we were raised in, that somehow they're inferior. And so instead of tackling the issues, especially the ones in the inner city that make it difficult for kids to learn, and a lot of that has to do with their environment, the family structure and the violence they may live near, they're focusing on a system saying, you're poor, you live in the ghetto because of this systemic racism and the world is stacked against you. And I think about my own success as having been a high school dropout, one of 12 kids. I got a GED, went to a community college, and then went on to earn a total of 5 college and university degrees. I believed that I could. I believed in the American dream. I believed that if I worked hard, it would make a difference. I never thought that I was handicapped because I was Black, I'm female, I come from poverty. I never thought of myself as a handicapped person, but they're handicapping Black children. They're telling them, that math is racist. That's why you can't, why you struggle. And like a lot of people struggle with math of all different races, we have to, just work harder. And the secret about math is that you have to do the problems. You have to do them over and over and over again until you really understand them. But that's hard work. So instead of focusing on, hard work and the fact that if you skip school and you miss all some of the concepts in arithmetic that bridge between arithmetic and algebra, you're never going to understand algebra because you missed something in between. They're just saying math is racist and that teachers shouldn't expect right and wrong answers. That means that for minority children that internalize that, they're not going to grow up to be even a pharmacist or an architect or an engineer or a scientist or a doctor or anything that requires math. And they're being told that math is racist. For white kids, they're being bullied and shamed because of the color of their skin. They're being told that they have undeserved privilege because they were born with white skin. And they're saying this to all white people, even that poor white male in Appalachia, parents never finished the 2nd grade, they're living in a shack somewhere in a hollow. They're telling that kid that they're somehow advantaged because they have white skin and that they are superior. It really is a white supremacist argument. They're telling every white that they're superior to every minority. So it's a dangerous, racist ideology that has no place in America.
What does, and I know we have to get going. What can the rest of us out here who commentate, who do analysis, who talk to people, what is our solution? What is our way forward to pushing this back on exposing all of this?
Well, I can tell you that my new book is short.
You got a copy of it. I know you do.
I do.
That's it back there.
It is back here. This is the top. This is the front cover. This is how thick it is. And I can tell you exactly what's in it because I think that, and I will mail you a copy if you send me your address.
Thank you, ma'am.
But the chapters, it was written to be understood. It talks about what critical race theory is, where it came from. And we know that it came from Marxism and postmodernism and critical legal studies. And then we talk about how it runs counter to traditional American values about how you treat individuals, how you treat people. It runs counter to Christianity, as well as civil rights laws, equal protection clause. And we have strategies for fighting back. And so let me give you some of the strategies. And I should also tell you that it has a glossary. There's so many terms that are thrown at people to confuse people. And we define those terms in this book so that people can go and look it up for themselves. Now, the terms keep changing all the time, but right now we have the latest buzzwords, what they really mean. But the first thing that people need to know is that they have to understand what CRT is, critical race theory, we call it CRT, and where it came from. We have to challenge the legality and constitutionality of it in the workplace and in schools, because if they're resegregating college campuses and they're encouraging all the Black students to, be in separate dorms or to take separate sections of a course, or they put pressure on them to go to a separate graduation, that's segregation, and that's against civil rights laws. And it's also discriminating against whites, because they set up things that they encourage minorities to participate in, no whites allowed. That's counter to why we fought the civil rights movement. You can organize grassroots movements to elect school board members, city council members, mayors, state legislators, and that will oppose the CRT agenda, which includes that 1619 curriculum that the New York Times put out that has a false view of history. And Willie, our point is, in this book, there's nothing wrong with studying history and the civil rights movement and slavery and all of those things. But if you do it in a way that is one-sided, that is geared just to demonize one race, and you don't talk about what whites and Blacks and Hispanics and Asians were able to do working together, well, that's part of a political agenda to divide. It's not the true history of the civil rights movement. The true history of civil rights and the outcome of slavery is positive, and what Blacks were able to do in the aftermath of slavery, that's positive. And we do know that about Black Wall Street, it got lots of attention. The focus was on the white people being racist. They burned the city down, or the Black neighborhood down. But the true focus was, it was less than 60 years after slavery, and Black people were so prosperous. They were more prosperous than the white people. And so the ones that burnt it down were jealous. So what about these Blacks? They didn't get government loans. Government loans didn't set up Black Wall Street. And so there's nothing wrong with history. People need to use multiple strategies, town hall meetings, writing public officials, social media, organizing rallies, and they need to educate their church leaders, because critical race theory and Marxism is in the church under the guise of social justice. And a lot of church leaders don't understand that it runs contrary to biblical values and principles, Christianity, that they're supposed to be teaching and upholding. We need to push back against big tech companies that are ruining our lives. And we need to monitor our state and local governments to make sure that they're not pushing it. And then the last is, we need to develop alternatives to diversity, equity, and inclusion training. And I have done just that. I started a new company last year called Unity Training Solutions. And my website is unitytrainingsolutions.com. And we offer our own education that embraces diversity, but in a way that is consistent with our national motto of E pluribus unum, out of one many. And so we focus on team building. We don't demonize people because they happen to be white or they happen to be male, because with critical race theory, we're focusing on critical race theory. It is one of several critical theories. There's critical queer theory, critical feminist theory, critical colonialism theory, and with critical feminist theory, it demonizes men. And so we're focusing on one theory that's permeated our institutions, but at the same time that we're focused on critical race theory as being the most important, critical queer theory, they have their agenda. They are indoctrinating our kids as well as our institutions, and they're pushing their ideology that diminishes heterosexuals and people that choose traditional lifestyles. So there you have it.
There's a lot to unpack. And I want to make sure I got that website correct. It's unitytrainingsolutions.com.
Yes.
Because we are going to share that in this interview, and we're going to share that website continuously until things get better. It's one of those things, you know the acronym PUSH, pray until something happens. Right. This is part of our push. we're going to continue to push until something happens. I know you got to get out of here. I know you're very busy.
But I have
Thank you
to say one other thing.
Oh, certainly, certainly.
Is that I believe that racial and ethnic minorities have to stand up at this moment, that this is a civil rights issue, and the things that are taking place affect every American, and that a lot of white people have lost their voice. You hear from the white progressives, they know everything. But regular people have lost their voices, and the discrimination against them, it's not, if it was wrong to do to us, it's also wrong to do to them and their children. And we have civil rights laws, we have a constitution with the equal protection clause, we have an American way of life, and we need to stand together to fight against something that's trying to destroy all of us and our way of life.
Amen. We appreciate that. And we will, and hopefully we can get in contact again sometime soon. This was tough, folks. Y'all don't know how hard this was to arrange, but we did it. And again, thank you ever so much, Professor Swain. I know you have something to do and you got to get going, but I appreciate this. This interview will be up in the morning. As a matter of fact, it will be on the morning report on, today is Tuesday, on Wednesday morning. So, and
Thank
clips
you.
of it are going to remain on the morning report, probably into perpetuity. Thank you again.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure talking to you. So until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all, take care of yourself. Professor Swain, thank you so much for being accommodating.
Right.
I appreciate you. Tell Jeff that I said, hey.
All right. Thank you.
Hug your mom for me.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Bye.
ma'am.